We are still preserving, and today we are going to do meals in a jar with carrots and potatoes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kim's Cozy Corner. My name is Kim, and on my channel, I like to grow my own food, right? I grow a year's supply of vegetables to feed my family and give some to family and friends. Well, guess what, y'all? I've grown more than a year's supply, and I've given plenty away, but now I have to start preserving it so that I don't lose that year's supply. So today we are going to focus on preserving some of our carrots and our potatoes. But we're not going to just preserve them any old way. We're going to do them as meals in a jar. And I am going to be using this Ball book right here. It's called the Ball All-in-One Canning and Preserving Book. And I have a couple different preserving books from Ball, but this is the one we're going to use today because they have recipes in here for meals in a jar. So all I gotta do is open the jar, heat it up for about 10 minutes, and y'all, we got a meal. So we are going to do two recipes today. We are gonna do herb potatoes with the potatoes that I have right here. And we're gonna do, what is it? Honey ginger carrots. I'm super excited about that one because I love those carrots you get when you go to a hibachi or a Japanese or Asian restaurant where you get those sweet carrots. So we're going to do honey ginger carrots with these carrots from my garden that my daughter harvested for me a few days ago. And so those are the two recipes, or at least that's the plan anyway for today. And we are going to use my Presto electric canner to do all of this for me because we need to pressure can these recipes, not water bath can, but pressure can. So we are going to get the carrots out the way for now, and we're going to focus on these potatoes. So I've taken a couple liberties to speed this process up just a little bit. One, I've already cut my potatoes. And when I cut my potatoes, I cut them up and while I'm cutting them, I put them in water and that'll keep them from browning. So I've already done that. And these are Nicola potatoes. Nicola potatoes. And I didn't have a really good container for these, but these are Sangre red potatoes. So we're going to do two different types of potatoes. We're going to keep the potatoes separate so we can see if there's a difference in the taste when we get ready to enjoy these meals. But we're going to move over to the canner because we need to get that set up and going as well. In my Presto electric canner, and the link to all of my canning equipment will be below, but in the canner, I've already added 3 quarts of water to the bottom of the canner. I need to plug it up, get it turned on. And y'all, I am still one day away from a 2-week, actually not even one day, I leave tomorrow for a 2-week business trip. So I'm trying to get as much done as I can. But all right, I got the canner on. We definitely want to pressure can. And we are going to pressure can for 40 minutes for these recipes that I'm going to be doing today. And I need to go ahead and insert the jars so we can warm the jars. To warm the jars, you fill them half full of water. Sorry about that, I forgot. I'm doing 1.5 jars for the red potatoes. And I'm doing quart jars for the Nicolai, which are the white potatoes. I want to make sure that they fit because I have wide mouth jars, so I gotta go find a regular mouth jar. Oh, much better. All right. So we got 2 wide mouth jars, 2 regular mouth jars for our quart jars. And then for the 2.5 pint jars, those are regular mouth as well. So I've inserted my jars. There's plenty of room. I just want to make sure we don't have any issues. Everything is fitting. It looks happy. So that's the last thing I need is if the jars are not sitting on the bottom and we have an issue. Okay, I've decided on what I'm going to do. I'm looking at the amount of potatoes that I have here. I don't think I need that many jars. So I went back and put a pint-sized jar in here as well. Don't know how many jars, but I know this is more than enough to do these potatoes. So I've inserted my jars. And now I got to put the lid on. Let's get the lid on. Lock the lid. Close this. And now my jars are warming. I had to take the regulator off. Okay, jars are warming. It takes about 20 minutes. So while the jars are warming, let's talk about the different seasonings that I'm going to use in this recipe. So I'm doing herb roasted potatoes. And so for the herb roasted potatoes, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, and then basically a teaspoon of everything else. A teaspoon of rosemary, which I have right here from the garden, and a teaspoon of thyme, which I have right here from the garden. And those are all of the ingredients that I'm going to put in the herb potatoes. And I'm going to, instead of using water to fill the jars, we're going to use a hot chicken broth, which I already have in a bowl, and I'm going to make sure it's good and hot before I put it in there. And I'm going to do that with the sangray potatoes, which is a red potato. For my Nicola potatoes, I'm actually going to do something a little different. I am going to still put the salt, the pepper, but I'm going to put in minced onion and garlic along with some herbs. So it's going to be slightly different, but still an herb roasted potato. So while we're waiting on these jars to warm up, we got all of our ingredients already out. So all we got to do now is just sit back and wait. So I'll bring you back. Okay, it's time to fill the jars. So we will open our lid here. We'll get the top off. And we have 2 recipes we're going to follow. Let's do the garlic, onion, and chive recipe first. I like to put, just me, but I like to put my seasonings in first. So we're going to put our chives in, teaspoon of chives, teaspoon of black pepper. I'm going to do a half teaspoon of the garlic. I don't know how many I need, I guess, here, but we'll see. And I'm going to do a half teaspoon of the onion. Oh, I could have done a whole teaspoon. I'm going to do a whole teaspoon. The garlic, I'll go light. And then salt. Can't forget the salt. Salt is 2 teaspoons. And that's it. All we got to do is add the potatoes. I'm going to strain the potatoes because we don't want the water because we have chicken broth. That's what we're going to cook them in. And again, these are the Nicola potatoes. And we are not going to cook them from the inside or anything like that, like I typically do when I'm just canning potatoes. But this is an actual meal in a jar. So when we take these out the jar, they're going to be ready to go on the table after like 10 minutes, and that's it. So these are going to be quite tasty. That feels good. Let's prepare the next jar. Garlic, I'm doing a half teaspoon. And then I'm doing a teaspoon of everything else, except for salt. Salt, 2 teaspoons. All of these, the chives and all of the herbs are from my garden. Now, how about that? We got all of them in there, except for 3. All but 3. That's okay though. Or 2, excuse me. All but 2. And now I'm coming over here with my rich chicken broth. And it is rich. And this is homemade chicken broth. So I'm super excited about that. It's one of those other things that I got to do. Don't like to buy that chicken broth, y'all. I hope I made enough. Or heated up enough, I should say. We still need to get all of the air bubbles out of the jars. You still need to leave a an inch of head space in here as well. The only thing about this recipe that I'm not crazy about, since I didn't preheat the potatoes, it's kind of hard to push them down in here the way I would be able to do if I had already boiled them for a few minutes. But hopefully I got the head space right, hopefully. And hopefully I got all of the air bubbles out. If nothing else, they smell good. Garlic, onion, and chive potatoes, y'all, that's gonna be good. In a chicken broth, So you wipe the rims of your jar and make sure they're nice and clean. You need to make sure your rings are finger tight. And then you put them back in there. And now we're going to move on to the other recipe. I need to dehydrate some rosemary and some thyme. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. All right, so let's get our 1.5 jars. It says 1 at a time, but we're going to take both out. And again, I'm going to put my seasoning on the bottom. I know I have at least 2 jars, so. Oh, this is salt. Salt is 2 teaspoons, but these are 1.5, so I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons. I don't want it too salty. Here's the pepper. Now this is rosemary from the garden. And then thyme from the garden. Now we're not going to waste these 2 potatoes. We're going to use those 2 potatoes as well because we're going to cook everything, y'all. It'll be obvious because you see they're yellow where these sangre potatoes are white. But that's okay. We're going to cook them anyway. And of course, I made way too much chicken broth. I'm good for that. That's what I usually do. One thing you can say is I'm consistent. But these potatoes are going to fit in here perfectly. They are in here, honestly, with room to spare. Here's our chicken broth going in next. I like the way the canner's just waiting on me to do my next step. I don't have to rush around. It just waits for me to tell it I'm ready to move on. 1 inch head space. We need to also remove air bubbles. We'll wipe our rims. Y'all, while this is cooking, it's going to smell so good. Woo! I can't wait. Oops. I'm going to turn it over before I even get it in there. Lid's on. Finger tight. Back in the canner. I need to take out the jars that I didn't use. So we ended up with 4 jars. That's okay. 2 of each. All right, we got them in there. Let's get the lid on. this on, and we need to tell it to move to the next step. All right, it's heating up and it's going through its process, and I can clean up because this is going to have to cook. First, it's got to get to pressure. Once it gets to pressure, it's got to stay at pressure for 10 minutes. And then after that, then it'll start cooking. And it's going to cook for 40 minutes. So that gives me plenty of time to prepare my carrots for the next meal that we're going to put together. And I do believe I need chicken broth for that one as well. So even though I may heat it up too much, I can get some more chicken broth out and get it heated up and make sure it's ready to go. So nothing is going to waste in Kim's kitchen. I'll bring you back for the next step, and I'm going to go work on some carrots, y'all. All right, the potatoes are done, y'all, and they smell good. Oh, they smell good. So we will start by taking out the, what is this? This is garlic, onion, and chives. Oh, they look good. Don't they look good, Mom? They're good enough to eat. And y'all, they are ready to eat. When it's time to eat this, all I gotta do is put it in a skillet or something like that for about 10 minutes. I can add some butter, maybe some, if I put milk in it, I can mash them up. And now I got herbed mashed potatoes. But there's one. Let's get the rest of them out, because we need to set them to the side so that they can cool on off and seal up good. Now this next one is, what was this? Thyme and rosemary. Y'all, I believe I'm gonna like the garlic and the onion one better than the thyme and the rosemary, but they both smell delicious. There they are. Lots of herbs floating around. So we're gonna get everything cleaned up so we can start working on those honey ginger carrots. All right, y'all, it's time for us to get started on these carrots, but y'all, I just realized something. I messed up on the potatoes, y'all. I messed up. I didn't read the directions carefully, which I should have read the directions carefully. In my book here, because this is the book that I'm using, it says that the seasoning that I just put in, pretty much every jar, was supposed to be, it was listed for 2-quart jars. 2, not 1, 2. So I'm not really worried so much about the pepper or the rosemary or the thyme. I'm not worried about any of those things. The garlic, the onion, not a big deal. But the salt, y'all, I just put way too much salt in those potatoes. So I'm going to have to just put a note on there and say that they're going to be salty. And then when I open them up, we'll taste them. We'll just see how bad it is. If it's really bad, then maybe we'll pour the liquid off, pour fresh liquid on when we're ready to eat them, and see if that helps with the saltiness. But anyway, I messed up. But we are not going to mess up on these carrots. So for the honey glazed carrot, honey ginger carrots, honey ginger, this is for 4 pints. I know I have 4 pints worth of carrots here, and we are going to put all of the ingredients in here. So for the honey ginger carrots, I need 2 teaspoons of salt. 2 teaspoons, all 4. All right, salt's in. Now I need 1 teaspoon of ginger. Let me get my ingredients over here. We're not going to make that same mistake twice. So for the ginger, I need 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. And that's what this is here. I need a 1/2 cup of orange juice. So here's my 1/2 cup of orange juice. 4 tablespoons of soy sauce. 4 tablespoons. Like I say, always read your directions well. Oh well. And now we need 4 tablespoons of honey. Oh, it smells pretty good. All right, when it comes to honey, first thing I need to do is be able to open the jar of honey. That has to be first, because right now I can't open it. Whew. All right, finally got it open. So this is supposed to be 4 tablespoons of honey. And we are going to rough estimate 4. Last time I filled up each jar one at a time, I did not follow directions, y'all. I get mad when I find out I don't follow directions because I try so hard to follow directions. So let's mix it up. All of these ingredients that I just put in here, the ginger, the orange juice, the soy sauce, the honey, the salt. Give everything a nice coating. We'll fill all 4 jars at one time and make sure we share the juice across the jars. And then we'll finish it off with the chicken broth. Smells good. So my pot says that my jars are hot and they're ready to be filled. So we will do that by getting these out. And I only warmed up 4 pint jars. I measured everything out beforehand so that I knew I had the right amount. All right, let's start dipping. A few minutes ago, I was able to get all of these in here. So let's see where we need to make some adjustments. So we are supposed to finish these jars off with chicken broth. And again, I've heated up way too much chicken broth. So we will have to put these in a jar and save them for another canning session. We have to also make sure we get all of the air bubbles out and the air pockets. But I still have way too much chicken broth. So we will take our chopstick, kind of move things around, and then I'll have to pack it back down. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I have a few too many carrots in a couple of these. Even though they all fit when I practiced earlier. But, you know, they're all different sizes and different shapes, so depending on how you lay them in there will determine how they do when you try to put them back in there. Now, one of the things that we really need to make sure we do here is get the rims nice and clean, because y'all, we did put honey in here, right? There's definitely honey in these jars, so we got to get these rims nice and clean because we want to make sure we get a good seal. I forgot I had one wide mouth, so I'll have to go get a wide mouth lid. Here's my wide mouth. All right, everything's finger tight. We are ready to get these in here and get them cooking. All right, we're heating them up and they will be ready for me to add the regulator here shortly. Okay, we are back and the carrots are done. Let's get it open and let's see how they did. Oh, raise the button, Kim. That's the first thing we need to do. And this is a new recipe for me, so we hope we like it. We hope so. They look good. Looks really good. All right, we'll get these last 2 out, and then we will look at all of our work over the course of the day. All right, let's head over and take a look at all of our hard work today. There are the carrots, potatoes across the front, the other carrots on the side there. Those are beans from yesterday, but those are our potatoes and carrots. And y'all, that's a meal in a jar. These are ready to go. They got all of the stuff in it to make it nice and tasty. Unlike some of my other traditional canning where I still have to cook it and I have to season it, these potatoes and carrots are ready to go. And the potatoes may be salty, and so we may have messed that up, but we will have to see. So all of my canned goods are going to sit here for at least 24 hours or longer or a week. Just depends on when I get back to them. And we will make sure that they have a good seal before we put them away into the pantry. Whew, that's it, and that's everything for the day. That's all we're going to do today. Another day, but it's the last day before the trip, so we're going to have to call it good here. If you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it and maybe you learned a new recipe, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click on notifications and all that good stuff, and come back again and see me really soon. So, until next time, and I hope there will be a next time that you hang out with me, Kim, at Kim's Cozy Corner. Bye.